The first episode of Season 9 is finally here, and to celebrate, I'm making a full on review rather than a short snippet of my thoughts, since I have stuff to talk about for this episode. This is also my first ever review video I've done, so I'm still new to this whole thing and such. So I'll improve over time when I do more of these. Also, before you ask, yes, this was inspired by Nemesis, so go check out his review for his thoughts on it. So, yeah. Going into this episode, I genuinely didn't know what to expect outside of wanting to know more about both of these characters. Since I know about Harley a bit more, but not the stuff she does later on in the comics after she breaks up with the Joker and becomes her own thing. And I didn't know a single thing about Jinx outside of the Arcane series and some stuff about League of Legends. So I was surprised to find out a lot of things that I didn't know about, like Harley joining the Bat family and Jinx making amends with her sister. So I enjoyed the analysis a lot, though it isn't without faults. For starters, I felt like there was some stuff within the research that could have been added or at least mentioned. More so for Harley. Like Harley has her two pet hyenas, her electric shock gauntlets, her other supply of guns, her jack-in-the-box, even her psychic rage ability that she got in Arkham Knight. I felt like these could have been more to bring up with Harley that would have been unique to see play out in the fight itself. Another thing I guess you could say is more of a nitpick, maybe? I feel like the analysis portion kinda ended abruptly. Like usually after both characters' respected analysis is done, they typically add like a small clip of them saying a quote to end their analysis segment. But for here, they didn't add them. Personally, it just feels weird to talk about all these things that the characters have done and not end with a quote they say. Because that way it kind of leaves an impact towards the viewer that this character ain't no joke or something like that. To have it just end just feels like there should have been something after Wiz and Boomstick finished talking to the Pacific character in question rather than transitioning to the other fighter. It honestly kind of reminds me of Weiss's analysis in Weiss vs. Mitsuru, where after they got done talking about Weiss, they just play some random clips with a song in the background minus the audio clip they added at the end of her analysis. I don't know, I just felt like that didn't feel right. Now as for the fight itself, it was actually pretty good, and even better than what I expected. Though I can't help but feel like there's things that could have been improved on or was a missed opportunity. For starters, I liked the story for why they were fighting. It feels like a solid enough reason for Harley to start attacking Jinx, especially with Harley's current interpretation in the mainstream media. Though how the missile that hits Harley's teddy bear when Jinx never shot at Harley's direction when she was aiming at the crow didn't translate well and felt like it broke the 180 rule. However, I do like the carnival arena that they are fighting in. Gives me an extension of the carnival stage from Injustice 2, which I thought was pretty neat. While we're on the subject matter, the presentation was pretty solid. The effects were nice, though I'm kinda mixed on how I feel with Harley's model in this episode. I liked Jinx's model because I have seen and know which model they're using for Jinx. I mean, I get what they were aiming for when they made the model, it being inspired by her semi-classic design with her new animated series design, and I love this design they made for her. In fact, it's probably my favorite Harley Quinn design out of all of her other designs. It makes me wish that this design was a real canon design she has. But the problem I have with it is more so on the shading of the model. To be clear what I mean, there's parts of the model where the model feels like the shading feels flat, compared to Jinx's model where the model is heavily detailed and has noticeable shading. Harley's feels textureless in some areas. Her hair, for example, just looks like a plain texture with no dark shading or detail to distinguish the color palettes of the model, especially when compared to her animated counterpart, where this model takes inspiration from, has shading and detail to mesh with the color of her hair. It makes scenes with the model feel off, especially with her front hair, where it looks like it blends in way too much with the rest of her color that aren't the pink and blue ones. While on the topic, the voice acting is pretty top notch, with Felicia Valentine voicing Harley and Elise Lovelock voicing Jinx, with Felicia pulling off a great Harley voice and genuinely sounds like they got Tara Strong or any other of them iconic voice actors who played Harley Quinn before to reprise their role for this episode. Like, it's really spot on. And Elise sounded like what I could expect Jinx sounding like in League of Legends outside of Arcane. So, the voice acting is amazing. In terms of the fight itself, it's also pretty solid, but felt like there were some pretty missed opportunities. To start with the positive, I liked it that it played with the theme of Harley and Jinx being batshit crazy and showing how they bounce off with each other's styles. Like Harley being extremely agile to where Jinx can't hit her, and Jinx being too unpredictable for Harley to land a clean hit on. I also liked that the stuff they do within the fight is something that fits the characters. The first thing I can instantly remember is when Harley puts the dynamite in Jinx's mouth, and instead of Jinx throwing it away or being concerned, she just laughs it off like if it's nothing. There's really some fantastic highlights throughout the fight, like the previously mentioned dynamite part and the lead up to it, the fight in the Ferris wheel where the camera zooms out to show an outside perspective to show it isn't as chaotic as they're making it out to be, Jinx putting the dynamite in Harley's boxing glove gun for then to explode in a Looney Tunes-esque fashion, Jinx riding her shark gun like if it's the missile she rides in League of Legends. Both Harley and Jinx going through different places with the teleporter, just for them to go off rails and stay in the air for a few, and then fall back down. The whole inside of the carnival where Jinx inhales the Joker toxin and goes insane with the arcane effects, along with her sister Vi making a small cameo in the mirror with Harley's reflection lurking in the shattered mirror while Jinx shoots at the camera. Jinx reversing the effects of the Joker toxin and shooting Harley with the blood being red feathers. And the best highlight for me, that is them making a nod to the Joker vs. Sweet Tooth's ending, where Harley tries to trick Jinx into falling for a trap so she can take advantage and land the killing blow in a similar fashion that the Joker did. and actually give a pretty solid reason why it worked on Sweet Tooth and not Jinx. With Sweet Tooth being a psychotic killer who only wants to see bloodshed and kill his victims, while Jinx has trust issues due to her tragic past when she was a kid. So yeah, there's a lot of great highlights of the fight, but not everything is perfect. For some reason, I can't help but feel like there wasn't enough sense of speed for certain scenes, where it looks like it should move fast but comes out as slow. The best example I can think of is when Harley sticks the dynamite in Jinx's mouth. Harley moves slowly and somehow still manages to stick the dynamite in Jinx's mouth, when realistically, with the speed that Harley was moving, Jinx could have really dodged or moved out of the way. Even parts of Harley's acrobatic skills feel like they don't move as fast as you kinda expect it would. And lastly, I feel like there was a pretty good amount of missed opportunities that this fight had, more so in terms of their arsenal and skill set. Like I mentioned, Harley has 2 hyenas. You could have had Harley call upon her hyenas to attack Jinx, and Jinx would have had to counter the hyenas to either come up with a good way to take care of them or get up close to Harley. You could have had Harley use her electric shock gloves on Jinx. You could have had Harley use her machine gun to match with Jinx's Pow Pow machine gun. Have Jinx ride / use her super mega death rocket and Harley tries to shoot it down or something like that. And the biggest missed opportunity, I felt at least, was when Jinx goes psychotic in the carnival. You could have had Harley go into her psychotic rage to match with Jinx's psychotic mode. You would have had a battle of who is really the most psychotic one between the two. That would have been the biggest highlight of them all if that happened in the fight. You know, there's just some missed opportunities that would have been perfect for a fight like this. Have them go crazy and shit like that. Make them feel like they want and have to kill each other. So, how did the episode hold up? Well, even after all that, it didn't sour my enjoyment of the episode. As the start of this season, I'd say it was the perfect way to start. Now, is it my favorite premiere of a season premiere episodes? No, not necessarily. The best premiere episode is still Dante vs. Bayonetta, but Harley vs. Jinx is easily my second favorite premiere episode, and one that holds up compared to the other ones. Harley vs. Jinx has way more highlights and fantastic moments that it's far from a bad episode. So for my final judgment, I give Harley vs. Jinx a solid 10 out of 10. It may have some faults that I've listed, but the stuff that this episode gets right, it really gets right. That's why I give it a 10 out of 10. And for my result score, I'm 1 right, 0 wrong, 0 undecided, and 0 draws. So far so good. As for next time, it's Scarlet Witch versus Satana, and I really couldn't care for it. Like, I knew this was the obvious pairing for Scarlet Witch. I just don't care for the idea enough to be invested in it. So that's my first review I've ever done on this channel. It was pretty interesting to make. If this gets like good reaction and people enjoy it, I'll do more reviews on episodes that have more to say. But until then, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.